reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 19, from verse 41 down to verse 44 from the NIV. As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, "If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you." Today this is a message for the second Sunday of Lent, and I wonder what you would think if you were with Jesus and walking towards Jerusalem one day. And he starts to share something with you. He says something on the lines of, "You see that city there, off in the distance? Well, one day soldiers will surround it, set up siege works against it, attack the city and cause massive amounts of damage, even to the temple." What would you think about that? The thing is, though, is that what Jesus prophesied about here actually came true. About the year 70 AD, there was a revolt by the Jews in Jerusalem, and the Roman army laid siege to the city and caused a lot of damage. We can still see the effects of this with what is referred to as the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. This is the only bit of the temple left standing in the city. Then in verse 44, Jesus says that all of this will happen because they did not know the time of your visitation. And the NIV used the words, "did not recognize the time of God's coming to you." We can read in John 1 verses 10 and 11, "He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him." All the way through the Bible we can see God's dealings with the nation of Israel, whether it be in the time of Abraham, or the Exodus from Egypt, the taking of the land under the leadership of Joshua, then the Judges, all about King David, and so on up till New Testament times. And even today the story still goes on. The re-establishment of Israel as a country, and the many Jews from all over the world returning to Israel. Yet into this story God sends the promised Messiah. But the problem was, though, that many of the Jews missed it. Whilst many Jews in Israel at the time did recognize it, the 12 and even the 72 were Jews, many of the leaders, etc., didn't. They were looking for another King David who would rise up, lead an army and force the Romans out of their country. Of course, Jesus didn't match this image that they had. Jesus was born of a carpenter, as somebody in the building trade, we might say today. He didn't match their expectations of messiahship. The Jewish authorities also had a real problem with Jesus in the last year of his ministry. Jesus received much opposition from them, which of course points us to the events of Passion Week and Good Friday. when Jesus is crucified upon the cross. The events then of AD 70, the Roman siege of the city of Jerusalem, was tied in with this. The Jews, though, were good at not learning this lesson. Many times in their past they had not kept faithful with God, or failed to recognize His purposes in their lives. I work in a local a primary school in Plymouth, where I live, and just recently I was teaching about the story in 1 Samuel where the Israelite army went out to fight the Philistines, and carrying the Ark of the Covenant before them. But the problem was their hearts were not right with God at many levels. The result was that they lost the Ark of the Covenant to the Philistines. What a humiliating defeat is that. But we mustn't look down too much on Israel and her struggles with God, their efforts to keep a right relationship with Him, etc. For we too are as human as they are, and we too make the same mistakes all in all. But as we journey spiritually through Lent, this preparation time before Easter, let us ask ourselves, how is our heart with God? What areas of our lives are not right with God? Are there areas of our lives that we have struggled with that stops us from going deeper with God? We too can miss God's visitation amongst us. All kinds of areas of sin in our lives can hinder our walk with God. If you're like me, then it can be a real battle to switch the TV off and instead turn to God in prayer. Yet we must. The Christian is not about works. We can't earn our way into heaven. But once we have accepted His offer of salvation through Jesus Christ, through grace, then we need to turn our hearts to God more and more. I would just like to finish with some words from Hebrews 12, verses 2 and 3. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy set before Him, endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider Him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. My closing thought for today and this week: let us not grow weary and lose heart. God bless you.